Welcome back. Trump administration is citing the COVID outbreak as a reason to further clamp down on immigration. And it's using a 1944 emergency public health law as the basis for halting most immigration and in the process reversing long-standing policies about the treatment of children. Now, the administration, they're rushing through the deportations of migrant children, and they're also turning back hundreds of them at the border before they can even cross, let alone have a chance at due process. ProPublica, it's been digging into this, and I'm now going to quote from its latest piece. The U.S. government has aggressively begun to rush the deportations of unaccompanied minors in its care to countries where they have been raped, beaten, or had a parent killed. According to attorneys, court filings and congressional staff echo this. Now, House Democrats, they have asked Homeland Security to, quote, cease this practice immediately, calling it both appalling and unacceptable. Again, those their words. My next guest, she on the front lines helping these children, Jennifer Podkul from Kids in Need of Defense. She joins us. And Jennifer, explain, because it seems to me that the administration, they're using COVID as an excuse here to get around settled law.
Absolutely. Look, Congress made clear when they passed a law to stop human trafficking that unaccompanied children are particularly vulnerable. And because of that, there's special procedures in the way we treat them. We do not just push them back or send them back to places where we know that they're going to be in harm. We've been really dismayed to see the government using this global pandemic when so many people are suffering just to increase the suffering of children.
You know, on a broader level, Jennifer, there are very few things in the last 3+ years this administration has done quietly, and that there's always an appeal to base. I'm not talking about immigration, I'm talking broadly. But I can point to two examples. One, when we found kids in cages, and now this. This was done largely in the cover of night. It took basically people like yourself and others to bring to light what was going on. And to me, that tells me either they didn't think this would play well, and or they really actually believe in what they're doing to these kids and these families. This was conscious. This wasn't some accident where some bureaucrat took this a step too far. This was part of an administration plan that we've seen play out over the last few years.
You're absolutely right. Look, in January 2017, when the president took office, he issued 3 executive orders about his plan for immigration. He laid out a roadmap on exactly what he wanted to do. In that, he said he wanted to stop unaccompanied children, so children fleeing violence who are on their own, who don't have a parent with them to protect them. He wanted to stop them from being able to ask for protection in the United States. And you know what? Congress said, no, absolutely not. When they were separating these children from their parents, tearing babies from their arms, the American public said, no, absolutely not. So the only way they were able to do this is trying to hide behind a global pandemic when everyone else is distracted and scared and suffering in their own ways. This was the only way they were able to succeed in what their original goal was way back in 2017.
You know, try and put a human face on the kids we're talking about, Jennifer, because I've been down to the border and I saw kids that were in limbo just waiting there. There were unaccompanied minors that, even though they had a relative in the States and they were fleeing unimaginable horrors, they knew they would never get under current policy from Mexico into the States. But I read a story about a kid from Guatemala whose families were running for their lives. One of the parents was both abusive and threatened to kill either child or mother if they came back. And we deported the kid. The mother didn't find out till 6 days later when the kid was in Guatemala with a relative stranger here who said they never got across. They never got basically to the States where they could be reunited with a family member in Texas. Talk about some of the environments these kids are going back to and why they're fleeing.
Well, the tricky thing right now is we're not just deporting kids back to their country of origin, where they've already told us that they've suffered these kinds of harms. I mean, grave, grave harms. I mean, children who are opening their front door and seeing body parts out there because it is so dangerous, and gang members are trying to send a message to them or their families. I mean, horrific stories. Then they have to go through Mexico, where many of them also suffer. It's very difficult for migrants right now. So when they finally are able to walk up to a port of entry, a bridge on our border, and ask an agent wearing a US uniform saying, I need help, I want protection, what's happening to them right now is they're being told, you know what? The US is closed for business. You got to turn around. We're not going to ask you any questions about whether or not it's safe for you. We're not going to ask if there's anyone there who's going to take care of you. We're just going to push you and dump you back over there where there's, these refugee camps in northern Mexico of all these people who are waiting to ask for protection. They're refugee camps, but minus all the services and protections that normal refugee camps around the world have. You have people living in tents. There's no access to water or healthcare or any sort of protection. My colleague talked to siblings. They were 12 and 15. They were by themselves. They walked up to an agent, and the agent said, sorry, we're not doing any of this processing right now. You need to go back. Push them back on the bridge. The two of them were together by themselves. There was nobody from Mexico there waiting for them. There was no social service agency who was able to take them. They didn't know what shelter to go to, and they didn't have, a cent to their name. This is what we're doing to kids right now. And I think, once more people know about this, they are going to rise up just like they did in 2018 at the height of family separation and say, our government can absolutely not do this.
And you take this one step further beyond even the children. What's happening now, again, under the veil of COVID, is amnesty. Jennifer, is getting a different definition now. You have literally people who are keeping farms going here in the pandemic who now are facing increased fears of deportation, or that they're trying to be denied benefits or aid, I should say. You have that's in the farm worker bill. You also have, situations of DACA, the kids right now that are intentionally being denied possible aid in the middle of a financial crisis because of status. My point is, this is part of a coherent plan. You've had an incoherent administration response to the pandemic, but they are coherent in that they're going after the most vulnerable population at the most vulnerable time right now. It seems that Stephen Miller can at least get one thing right.
Absolutely. Look, it's like spaghetti at the wall. They know their target. They want to hurt children coming here asking for protection. They're trying every single way they can think of to do it so that they can be successful. It's shocking that that's what they want to do, that that's the goal, that hurting children is a goal, but it is. And they're trying every tool they have in their toolbox to try to make that happen.
Well, I sure as heck hope that you're right. I believe you are, but I've grown jaded here that when this comes to light in a greater way, there will be a political will in Washington to actually put an end to it. But at least fingers crossed. Good luck, Jennifer. I'm glad at least the story is getting some attention right now, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, everyone, when we come back, we're going to take a look at how the American public feels about wearing masks, eating out, going back to school, voting by mail, and more. Not so much which candidate is up, but maybe some of the issues about what will decide the next elections, where we are as a country at this stage of the pandemic.